Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet have been asked about each other for 27 years. And at 50, he finally answered the question in a way that nobody expected, not because it was romantic, but because it was honest in a way that makes romance unnecessary. They were 22 and 20 when they stepped onto the set of Titanic and became the most watched pair on Earth, except they weren't a couple. That is the thing people always got wrong. They were two young actors in a movie that became a cultural event. The kind of film that doesn't just make you famous, it makes you the property of everyone who watched it. Leo went from unknown kid with curly hair to the most recognizable face on the planet in the space of one opening weekend. Kate went from British theater actress to the woman every magazine called the girl of the century. They survived it together. Not because they were in love. Because they were the only two people in the world who understood what had just happened to them. The press invented a romance because the alternative, that two young people could share something that intense without being together, was too complicated for a headline. They played along with the joke because it was easier than explaining the truth. The truth was simpler and harder at the same time. They were friends. Real ones. The kind that don't need to see each other every week to know the other person is still there. They talked. They visited. They showed up at each other's premieres and sat in the back row and made faces during their own acceptance speeches. But there is something about that friendship that people never looked at closely enough. While the world kept asking them to be a couple, both of them were living lives that had nothing to do with each other. Leo moved through Hollywood dating, building a life built on privacy and distance from the very industry that put his face on magazine covers every week. Kate married, divorced, married again, had children, won an Oscar. He was one of the first people she called from that stage. She went through a divorce that the world watched. He was there, not in the headlines, but in the quiet way that friends show up when the noise gets too loud. They never competed. Never resented. Never let the world's insistence that they should be together poison the thing they actually were. And that is harder than it sounds. Because the world doesn't leave friendship alone. It pushes. It prods. It turns something quiet into a spectacle. At 50, Leo admitted what people are calling heartbreaking. It isn't heartbreaking. It's just honest. He said they were never supposed to be anything other than what they were. Two people who shared a moment that was too big for either of them to process alone. A friendship that survived because it never had to carry the weight of romance. Because romance breaks. Friendship between two people who have been through something together, that doesn't break. It just gets quieter. He never married. She did, twice. And both of them found a way to be happy in completely different arrangements while staying the one constant in each other's lives that never asked for anything more than it was. Leo's answer wasn't a confession. It was a correction. A correction to 27 years of people asking the wrong question. Not why didn't they get together? Why didn't the world let them just be the one thing they actually were, two people who survived something enormous and stayed friends without needing to make it anything more? Some of the most enduring connections in the world are not love stories. They are the friendships that outlast every love story around them. If you want more real stories, the truth behind the relationships you thought you understood, subscribe to this channel. Because the real story is always more interesting than the one the magazines tell.